on top of that, I had my dad, my mom, all of my friends and family were like, have you talked to Father Chad? Like, my teachers were like, have you talked to your vocations director? Like, maybe you should go talk to him. Like, I know you don't necessarily want to do it anymore, but I think you should just talk to him. And like, I was so tired of hearing that. So after the funeral, I prayed a rosary at his tomb every day for my vocation. And like, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do with my life? I'm lost. I'm confused. Whoa. And I didn't really ever chalk this up to Mary, and I didn't realize how much Mary was behind the scenes in my vocation. And like, it's so fitting for her that she's behind the scenes.
Welcome back to the Come Holy Spirit podcast. I am Daniel Adonias, and I'm not joined with my good friend Tom Wynn today, but I have another senior at the House of Formation, guys, another senior seminarian. As you guys have heard, we had Mason and Jack on at different times. I now have Ben Wemhoff on. He's also been here for 4 years, came to seminary straight out of high school. And if you guys are watching online, if you're listening, you can't really tell, he's actually wearing clerics right now. They were able to put them on for the first time just 2 days ago. So we're going to get into that later for sure. But how's your week been so far, Ben?
It's been great. A lot of fun. The last week is... Well, after finals get done, it's so easy, and you just kind of hang out with the boys, have a ton of fun, just going everywhere, hanging out, watching movies, playing sports. Yeah, it's just a great time the last week.
Yes, it really is. It's been a hectic week too.
True.
What was really fun this year, and it's my first year, so I don't know if, for all I know, it's been happening for 20 years, but it was the first annual, supposedly. But they did a House Olympics this year, and the seniors actually took over and ran it. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this was the first time we've done it.
Okay.
We've never done it before, at least to my knowledge, here. I know at other seminaries they do some things like this, but just with the size of our house in the past, we've never been able to do something this big. And then also with just some minor rule changes in this year, that it just really helped keep us here at the house and in seminary with each other, just really share good fraternal times with each other in this finals week. So yeah, we started way back at the very beginning of the semester. One of the younger guys and I were talking, and he was like, you know, what'd be really cool is if we did like an Olympics. And I was like, yeah, that would be kind of cool. I don't know if we can do it or not. I'd have to like ask around and see kind of what the general consensus is on whether or not we want to put that much effort into it, or if it would be worth us doing that. So I talked with the priests here and some other guys just to kind of get a temperature check on the whole idea. And they were all really supportive of the idea. They loved it. And so then it was all up to kind of me, and I have to give a shout out to one of the other guys here who really helped, our sports director here, Caleb Ouellette. Yeah. He really helped me with a lot of it, putting it on, getting the schedules together. He kind of kept me going with it. So I really had to give him a big shout out on it. He did a lot with the Olympics. And so it was a great time. We had like, what was it, 10 or 12 events? It was a lot. We had a lot of events. We did like 2 or 3 a day, just kind of depends, all in the evening. We did anything from like Magic the Gathering tournaments to, ultimate Frisbee. I think my favorite event was probably the relay.
Yes.
We did like 5 different things from catching a chicken to running with an egg on a spoon to catching water balloons out of a 2nd-story window, to pushing a car for about, 200 feet or so.
Yes.
So
it was insane.
Yeah, it was, and it was a lot of fun. So much fun to see the guys just go all out, and the guys really showed up with a good energy to it. Like I was really impressed with the guys. Really good fraternal spirit about it. They made the Olympics good just by showing up and being rowdy about it, kind of bringing the energy. So I I don't think it could have gone any better. I really enjoyed the Olympics. It was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun for all of us that were involved too. It was so cool seeing the dynamic of having 30 guys like around, like screaming at the top of their lungs. The funniest one was I think the speed walking event.
Yes.
When we have 4 guys at the house that are just speed walking around these 2 blocks, and there's cars passing by. There's people like meeting over by the church, and there's just 30 college age men like hooting and hollering, being like, let's go. So it was hilarious, to say the least.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, there was one of the events too. It was a kids game that we played like growing up, which was oh my gosh, I'm already forgetting the name. Jackpot. Yeah. The football. And the twist was that the seniors were throwing the ball from the roof to this group of 12 guys. So it was hilarious. It was very physical. I'm still finding new bruises on my body from this whole week. Not that anybody was beating me up, but everybody was just working really hard. But I will say some of the also most single funny events, or maybe the single most funny event, was Family Feud.
Oh, Family Feud was hilarious.
Yes. Our I won't say Lord Rector, because he's technically not a Lord Rector.
Soon to be rector
of the house. But he was Chad Harvey for this event, and it was absolutely hilarious. But then also to wrap up the week, which is really fun, a tradition here at the house, the seniors, they have their families come over for Thursday night. They have the official senior party. Last night was Friday night. We had the unofficial senior party. But the juniors do a really good job of planning everything and making sure stuff is just going well for it. But yeah, how was senior party for you? That was great.
It was bizarre that it was my turn this year. I've always been in the I'm going to help make it a great time for the other guys, and so I'm always used to the like chaos before and after, and helping to clean, helping to cook, and being a part of that process, and then to just have to receive, and some I find it difficult at times to receive that generosity. I always want to be in the midst of it, but when they literally won't let you help them, it was like, okay, great, like just to receive all the love that they gave, all the care that they gave, to put all that on. The juniors did a great job this year with both the formal, like with family over, they were super hospitable to our families. It's always a fun time to get to introduce more of your extended family to the priest, to get to show them like where you've actually been living for the past 4 years, and that it's not a made up fictitious place, that it's just like, this is the place that I've been in a way imprisoned at for the last 4 years. And I mean that in the best possible sense of the term, but it's really fun to show your family like how far you've grown, especially your immediate family who gets to see you more often. And that's the first time you actually get to put on clerics for your family. And so they did a great job with that party. And then Friday night, last night was so much fun. The juniors did such a great job. Like every year, you never know how that party's going to go, just depending on your junior class and how good they are at editing videos, or how much time they put into it, or how creative they are. It usually goes relatively the same every year. So there's usually a video montage of all like baby pictures to senior year of seminary pictures for each senior. And that's always a lot of fun. But this year they put it to like music, and the edits were insane on that video montage. It was hilarious. Dan Hayden did a great job with that.
He did. It was, yes, I can attest to it. It was hilarious. Each senior had a turn, and the music selection was great. He would like randomly, like the photos would rotate. I think the loudest reaction in the room was one of the seniors. Actually, you guys had heard about Jackie converted over to Catholicism. So his confirmation photo, the room blew up. But it was so funny. The different, like a kid's photo. Like I think they had a special little montage at the end of Ben's, and they're like, here's all the photos of Ben with fish that he caught.
Yep.
So, but yeah, Thursday was great as well. Yeah, there was a lot of people. I will say from my perspective, it was so funny because it was so nice too. Like all the attention's on the seniors. So like everybody else is kind of coasting. And then me being from another diocese, I was like double coasting.
Yep.
So just like around, like, like seeing what I could do, but also just like sitting and eating. But it was a pretty fun environment. And then we had our very, very warm baccalaureate mass yesterday. It was a packed church, and seniors got to serve, which was fun. I thought that was kind of cool, the distinction, because obviously the rest of the seniors at Newman, they were wearing their gowns, but you guys got to wear a cassock and surplice and be on the altar, which is fitting for the vocation that you're discerning. Exactly, yeah. It's been a great and hectic and fun week. But now we're coming to wraps to the summer. What are you doing for the summer?
So this summer I'm doing an assigned summer to Spanish ministry. So, and by that I mean I have to learn Spanish. So we're doing a Spanish immersion program here at the house. So I'll leave the house for 2 weeks to come back to the house and live here for the summer. Basically we go to class every day, for about 4 hours and do an intensive Spanish class. And then after that, we have the afternoons to kind of do homework, and we pray a little bit, hang out with each other. And then the evenings, we'll usually have supper and mass. And then some sort of a like ministry event or like communal group of more of the Hispanic community in Wichita. So whether that be going to our adopted Spanish families for the summer, just for supper with them and hang out with them, learn more about their stories, how they came to the United States, if they're like first generation immigrants, or just their struggles with maybe learning English or being accustomed to the United States or our way of life here. And then also just going to different ministry kind of programs at different parishes. So I think we're going to two different, an evangelization school in Spanish, and then like a men's group that's more of a Hispanic men's group, just to kind of go and be with a different group of guys, maybe younger guys, and just get to really immerse ourselves in the culture and in the language. So part of the rules to this summer is like from when we wake up at like 7 a.m., maybe earlier, to like 8 p.m. at night, it's all Spanish. We're not allowed to speak any English. So for some of us, me, that's going to be quite the struggle the first couple of weeks, but it'll be fun. I think I'm most looking forward to some of the fun fraternity events that Father's put on our schedule. Like I think we're going to do some movie night with margaritas a couple times. And some of the movies he was telling us about, I'm like, one's a Will Ferrell movie. And I was like, that would be so much fun. And it's apparently in Spanish.
I did not know he had any in Spanish movies.
I didn't either until the other night. And I was like, all right, let's watch that one with a margarita. That sounds great.
Yeah, that's so exciting that you guys are going to be able to like have your Spanish summer and like actually be immersed in the culture. And it's so cool because I guess like for me growing up, I was very in the Spanish culture, Spanish mass. And then later on, it was the switch where I had to get like more into the English culture, especially like doing CCD classes or whatever it was. And it is a lot different. Like obviously the mass is the same and it's just as gorgeous, but just the like the interactions or even like the songs that you do.
I was gonna say the music is completely
way different.
Yeah.
And house life too is just it can be a lot different. So I'm excited for you guys to be able to go into the Spanish culture. I know I've talked about this a few times, but it's really funny because so the drinking rules at the house during the year is we get 2 drinks on Fridays and Saturdays, beer, wine. Spanish summer, those rules aren't there, so they'll have like a Tuesday margarita movie you could have something.
Monday Marge or something like that. You could come up with creative things. Like the basic rule is just prudence at that point. Yes. They trust us enough. We've been formed long enough, ideally, that we know our limits and we're responsible enough to say, okay, I've had 2 drinks tonight. I'm okay. Or I don't need to have a drink tonight. I'm okay. And so, Father, I was talking to him about that. He really likes giving us the kind of freedom after the house just to say, okay, now you need to figure out in a public setting what your drinking limits are going to be for yourself. Just so as a priest, God willing, someday you're not floundering when you're drinking every night because you're going to people's houses every night, but being comfortable with saying, oh no, I'm sorry. I've already drank this week a couple times. I don't need anything tonight, or just to find the outlets, the kind and polite ways to say, nope, no, I'm good for today. Like I'm okay. So it's really cool just to be able to be in that situation and see the trust that he has in us to be able to figure that out for ourselves. So
it is really nice. And it's because it's like this notion that a lot of times, like I feel like in the Christian community, there's some denominations that like drinking is not a thing. They're just like, no, this is really bad. But also like, as we see like among the Catholic community, that's not the thing. But it's also important to know that like priests can drink like regularly or like in moderation, like for fraternity, stuff like that. And I think it's really important. It's cool at the house that they like built the system to like train you. And then you go into Spanish summer, it's like, okay, let's see how well this training has worked. Which is really cool. Okay, so I do want to get into, and we are going to get into the clerics a little bit later. I kind of want to build up to that because when we saw the seniors and clerics, it was loud in the house, very, very loud. So we're going to get into that. But who is Ben Wemhoff? Who is family life growing up? How was your Catholic culture growing up? Like how did that affect you going into high school from your parents? All of that. I'm curious to get into.
So always born and raised Catholic, cradle Catholic. My parents are very Catholic. They were always very good influences when it came to the faith. Really focused on praying together. And that was something that I didn't always care for then, but now it's like I realized I took that for granted and didn't realize how much that actually aided our family and aided myself in my current vocation. And so it's like, growing up, we would eat together. We'd always pray together at night. And something that I found with spiritual direction, my spiritual director always told me to do an examen every night, which is not more like an examination of conscience. It's a little different than that. It's more focused on gratitude, and spiritual movements rather than necessarily just sins that I've committed. And so it's really helpful in the spiritual life to see how the Spirit's been working in your life every day and where maybe the evil spirit's been coming in or the God's graces have been coming into your life and pinpointing, okay, well, if this is the evil spirit in this moment, what was my kind of feeling in my heart? Why did that come in? And then I can work on that the next day to remove that from my life and to try and allow God's grace to touch that and to just give that to him. And so there was something that you always start with just a gratitude and just a kind of, I don't want to call it a laundry list, but just things throughout the day that you're very grateful for. And so at first that can be really hard. And you do this for probably 2 to 5 minutes upwards sometimes, just depending on how things go. And it's really hard sometimes to come up with, 20 some odd things you're grateful for. And I know this doing the gratitude litany or challenge over Lent.
Yeah, Mason and I, we were trying to do like a rosary of gratitude, and Ben joined us a handful of times too, but it gets hard after like 10.
Yeah, because sometimes you're like, I'm grateful for my shoes, and you're like, well, that's basic. And you're like, but no, like, at a real level, that is true. Like, you are grateful for that. And so you start with gratitude, but something my dad would always do with my sister and I, when we were, for as long as I can remember, when he was tucking us into bed, he'd always say, what do we thank Jesus for? And then our reply was for his love. And then he'd go, do you want to thank Jesus for anything else today? And then you would literally just, for as long as it took, he'd sit there and listen, and you'd be grateful for whatever it was that day that you wanted to thank Jesus for. And at the end, he'd just be like, I think Jesus really liked that. And then he'd say goodnight and go to bed. And so that was just kind of our family, I'd call it tradition or routine, but whenever he would tuck us in, that's every night. That's what we could expect to hear from him. And so I, again, took that for granted for a long time. But in high school and once you get old enough where you don't need to be tucked in anymore, that wasn't necessarily the routine. And so it became more of just he'd holler down the stairs as you're walking, what do we thank Jesus for? And you're like, for his love. Gosh, I know. And you'd walk downstairs and go to bed. And so it was, just growing up, I was always around that Catholic, they were very alive in their faith, and they passed that on to me. At Mass every Sunday. We would go to confession fairly regularly. I remember growing up too, my dad always had a holy hour. I would try and go with him occasionally to the holy hour. And so it grew up just in an environment kind of just geared at raising me Catholic and keeping me Catholic. And so I'm extremely grateful for that. I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have that. For sure. And it wasn't until high school that, I think every high schooler struggles with this at some point of just, okay, is my faith my own? And how do I make it my own? And I am no exception to that. I really struggled. I've always kind of felt a call to the priesthood, or felt like this is a vocation I want to pursue. And that completely changed in high school, especially sophomore, junior year. And for me, that was COVID time. Yeah. Not saying that COVID was a huge influence in that, but it definitely didn't help. Not being around, not being able to go to Mass and the sacraments. I didn't realize how much I actually took them for granted and enjoyed those sacraments until they were like, sorry, you cannot have them. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of led me down a rabbit hole. And I didn't pray as often. I was hanging out with friends. I was by all means, living the life of the culture and just loving it. And it was I saw myself flourishing. A young high schooler, got a job, hanging out with friends every day. It was great. School was online, so it was 30 minutes a day, and then homework took you 5 minutes because it's online. So it's you were in school for an hour a day, and then the rest of the time you're talking to your buddies hey, you want to go hang out? And they're like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And it's we're in Kansas, so COVID rules out here were a little more relaxed than,
very much so. Yeah.
What Wichita even wasn't as bad as if you went to Chicago, you're in a hazmat suit when you go outside. Here, yeah. It's you'd get maybe a weird glance if your mask was below your nose. So COVID rules here were a little odd. So we were hanging out with our friends, doing things just going fishing, going bowling, whatever we wanted to do. And so just the attraction to the faith just kind of died a little bit. I saw myself flourishing and having a good time without that, and was oh, is that something I really need? I'd just still go watch Mass with my family online, and I still called myself I'm Catholic. Yeah, I'm Catholic. Did all the things, but my vocation started to kind of slip away from me, and in my view of that, I feel my sophomore year, and especially with COVID, I began to just drift away and start to kind of almost run from that. I was well, yeah, I'm happy where I'm at right now. Look what all I'm doing. Even into my junior year, I was yeah, but college sounds really cool. I can go up to Nebraska. I can go up and do this. I can study ag engineering. I can do all these things. And man, that would just make me so happy. And so I just kept running and running and running. And then I always kind of give the joke of freshman to sophomore to junior year, the time lapse there and how much prettier girls get in that time frame is insane. And so it's girls get prettier, and your like seminary just kind of gets put in the rear view. You're just like, all right, let's start dating, or let's try and get a date, or like things like that. And your world just kind of flips in how you're thinking about things. And so I found myself wanting to pursue more of a dating relationship. I never actually was in a full-time committed relationship, but went on a date, and praise God that didn't work out. Like probably one of the worst dating experiences ever. But
the nightmare first date.
Yeah, it's like I praise God for that, because if it went well, I don't know if I'd be here today. And so it was like, yeah, I found myself running. And like, that was kind of the epitome of running away. Like, I just was like, nope, this is where I want to go. And I applied to tons of colleges, got in. I was accepted at Newman, or not at Newman, at Newman, but at University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and had a really good scholarship to go up there. And so it was like, I would have basically had my college paid for. And so I was super excited to go. And then everybody just was, I don't know what the Lord was working through other people, especially my senior year, and especially through Father Capon. I don't know if you've talked about him a lot on the podcast.
Not yet.
Father Capon is a local, like we call him a local saint, but priest of the Wichita Diocese, military chaplain. So in the Korean War, he was a military chaplain for that. And he went off and was on the front lines with the guys. And when the Americans went into North Korea, and they crossed that line, and the Chinese got involved and they pushed back, Father Capon's battalion was one of them that got captured. And so he was sent to a prison of war camp in Korea. And his story is tremendous. He would minister to the guys while he was there. He'd pray to Saint Dismas, who's the patron of thieves and like criminals.
The thief on the cross.
Yeah, the thief on the cross. He stole heaven. And so he'd pray to him so he could make successful runs on food, because they were starved at the camps. And so he would go and steal food for his fellow brothers in the camp.
That's actually so cool. Let me pray to the Saint of Thieves so I can go get this food for us.
Dude, I do it all the time. I'm like, I just want to steal heaven, Like, I want to be a saint like him.
Oh, it's so good.
And so he'd make knives out of the metal in their boots, and he'd go and he'd wash people's clothes who had dysentery. So he would like go down to the river and wash their clothes. He would bathe them and care for them. He'd pick the lice out of their heads when they couldn't. Like, he was just stellar dude. And so it's really hard to know exactly what all went down in the camp, because it was very closed off. But the story goes that we know that he got sick, he got ill, and he got pneumonia, I believe. And so the story is he got very, very sick, and the guards hated him because he was very anti-communist, and they tried to, influence him and his fellow inmates there with communist propaganda. And so he taught them how to resist. And he himself was just grilling the commander about, all the things that you're not supposed to believe in as a Catholic, and was like evangelizing to them as they were trying to like make him a communist. So they hated him. And so they put him in like ice buckets, and where you'd have to stand outside in the freezing cold in a bucket of ice, basically in like a cruciform shape, or other various forms of punishment. And so obviously this made him ill. And so I believe he caught pneumonia, caught a fever. And so it was looking very bleak for him. Now the prisoners who were there with him say that he was getting better. And so there's kind of a debate about whether or not he was martyred or not. I would like to think he was, but I don't think that's the cause we're going for with canonization anymore. But so they took him to the hospital, or the death house, and he never came back from there. And so it was just recently that they were able to actually find his body. We never found his body. We thought it was in a mass grave with a bunch of other people. And so apparently we found some connections, and somebody was like, actually, I know where they buried him. Mm-hmm. He was buried here. And we were able to find his entire body except for maybe like 2 bones in his finger. Mm-hmm. So it was like 98% complete.
Yeah.
And so that was during my senior year of high school. And I went to his namesake high school, Cape and Mount Carmel. And so we all got tickets to go to his funeral. And by getting tickets, I mean, like, it was such a big event in our diocese. You had to actually apply. They were free, of course, but like, you had to apply for tickets to reserve your spot to go. And so,
you guys got to go
all
to
the senior class got to go to the funeral. And we were like on the floor, and I got to talk to all the seminarians and the priests there that were there, and everyone was so happy. And I could see the seminarians living a life of, just the life of their vocation at the time of being a seminarian, just with such joy and happiness. And that was such a good example for me. I really needed that. And on top of that, I had my dad, my mom, all of my friends and family were like, have you talked to Father Chad? Like my teachers were like, have you talked to your vocations director? Like maybe you should go talk to him. Like, I know you don't necessarily want to do it anymore, but I think you should just talk to him. And like, I was so tired of hearing that. So after the funeral, I prayed a rosary at his tomb every day for my vocation. And like, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do with my life? I'm lost. I'm confused. Whoa. And I didn't really ever chalk this up to Mary, and I didn't realize how much Mary was behind the scenes in my vocation. And like, it's so fitting for her that she's behind the scenes. It's like, she's always pointing you to her son, and she always wants you to find her son. And so she was just there, and she was like, after a month of doing this, I just knew I had to meet with Father Chad once. And so I kept praying the rosary at his tomb every day. And I remember before my meeting, I prayed my rosary, and I went to Father Chad's office and was like, all right, Father, I don't know what I want to do. I still have this call to the priesthood, but I don't know if I want it. And what do I do with that? And so we had a great conversation. And afterward, he was very just like, all right, do you want this to be your first meeting about like to start the application process officially? And I was like, whoa, dude, slow down. Like I got to think about this still. And so I was like, no, not yet, but let's set up another one. So we set up another meeting, and that was my first official meeting. So I had my first official meeting in like October or November of my senior year. And after that, I was just hooked. And I've been so blessed to be here. And the formation you receive in seminary is such a blessing. Like the Lord truly has been working in my life in these 4 years. And I tell people every day, it was the greatest decision I've ever made to come here. Even if I was going to discern out in a year or two, or I could still discern out, I guess, but it would have been worth it because of how much better of a man I am and how much better of a Catholic male figure I could be in the community if I leave here. And so I always tell young guys who are on the fence about it, like, I was too. It's not a problem. It's okay. But like, the year or two, or God willing, you go all 8, the man you are after seminary is so much better and so much more alive in his faith and relationship with Christ, and is going to be such a better dad, such a better husband, and just such a better Catholic brother that it's worth it no matter where you are in life, just to come for a year. A lot of people preach like military, everybody should at least fight. And I was like, I see that, but I also tell a lot of guys, it's like, I think there are a lot of guys that should come here and would benefit, even if they don't make it all the way.
It is very true.
So it's like, yeah, I've been extremely blessed. My family was super supportive of me coming. I was very blessed in that, where I didn't have to worry about, ruining the family dynamic coming to seminary. There were still some challenges and stuff and worries, of course, but very supportive. They've still been super supportive along the way. And I've been very blessed with the family I had, with my upbringing, and just how everything kind of led to me coming to seminary. And so the Lord's definitely been working in that. It's had a hand in that. And it's been such a cool time.
That is so awesome. It's really funny because actually just last night, Tom had sent me a text, and he was like, well, it was like reflection question because it was coming up to the end of the year. And I believe the first one, the way he worded it was, do you feel like going to seminary was the right thing? And I was like, yeah, 100%, absolutely. Like, I've grown. And it was a similar answer. It was like, I've grown to be a great, like much more great Catholic man. And it's only been a year, like all this stuff. And the second question was like, do you regret going to seminary? And I was like, there's no way I would ever regret it. Like, even if I don't become a priest, and so like same for you or anybody else at the house, that formation that you receive is next to none. Like, it's incredible. And just even a semester of growth in seminary, it's impactful. And I also want to jump back to your dad as well. Like, that's so awesome. The connection, the relationship, like the prayer every night, like with your kids. It's so funny. It's like what the young adult couple in Catholic America right now like talks about, like wanting to do, like, I want to tuck my kids in every night and pray with them and go to mass with them, and I'm going to have my holy hour, and eventually they're going to want to come too, and one of my boys is going to be a priest or go to seminary. And it's just like, it's so cool to see, like, this was your life growing up. Yeah, that's just so awesome. And then Capon, yes, very, very big figure. We the Propedeutic class, was it last week, we went on a Capon pilgrimage.
Yeah, last Friday, right?
Yeah. And we got to hear a lot about the history. I'm glad you were able to touch more on the story, because there's parts that I still don't know, because coming from outside of Wichita Diocese, I had never heard of Capon in my entire life until I came here. And it was like, whoa, he's buried in their cathedral. Yeah. It's like, when did this happen? Yeah. But yeah, we got to go on a pilgrimage, and actually went to your high school, and they have all like a bunch of his relics and soon to be relics,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of his like things like his military uniforms, his liturgical garbs, even the monstrance that he had was battle issued, which they actually used at the men's conference that we went to. The first time they'd ever used it in the diocese.
Yeah, that was super cool.
Yeah, it was impressive because the principal came out and he was like, "You guys are probably gonna be wondering why we're using such a small monstrance." Let me tell you.
Yep.
But we actually got to go to his hometown and go and see that. Like it was really impactful for me too, because seeing like I came from a small town, and Jesus came from a small town, and Father Michael came out, gave a homily like Father Cabin came from a town that nothing good comes out of, just like Nazareth, Pilsen, Kansas, and here he is today, like with all his influence. So kind of transitioning over a little bit more to what seminary life has been like. Obviously, you've been around the block for a little bit now, 4 years. Check off as of tomorrow. Tomorrow is your last day as a seminarian at the House of Formation.
Well, today, technically.
That is today. Oh my gosh, it is Saturday. As a seminarian here, because then after you're officially moved on and then Spanish summer, you'll still be living here. But what has been, besides the growth and stuff, obviously you touched a little bit about on that, but like what has been some of your like biggest takeaways because of like whether it's the impact of fraternity or prayer life, or like what has that been for you?
Fraternity and prayer for sure. Fraternity is something the fraternity here is unmatched. Honestly, if you go to a Catholic seminary that's doing well and has a good atmosphere, I don't think you'll find any better fraternity. The guys are just so close to each other, and it because of that can lead to arguments and stuff like that. Like we know how to push each other's buttons, but we know each other very well, and we're all striving for the perfection that we seek in Christ, and we're all trying to help each other get there. And so seeing, in our case, at the start of the year, 41 young men come to the house and fill a chapel. And then all of us are trying to seek the same thing. And it's not necessarily priesthood. It's just, okay, what are you wanting from us? Where do you want us to go? And helping each other in that along the way, playing sports with each other, hanging out, watching movies. We do some of the craziest things here just on the spur of the moment. And so like the fraternity is unmatched. It's like a holy frat house in a way. Like you think of a fraternity of a frat house and you up the fraternity level, like just like how genuine and how often we hang out with each other. And then you also make it like more wholesome and just like, we're not going to go to a party. If we're going to have a party, we're making our own party, and it's going to be just us, and we're going to have a good time, and it's going to be like leading us to Christ. Like ideally everything we do here is centered around Christ. And like, it's cliche to kind of say that sometimes, I feel like, but I think it's a very good thing that even unintentionally, when we're here at the house, like we'll just be in the middle of a raging party or something like that. And someone will be like, dude, I kind of had a great holy hour today. And then everyone's over there with like the speaker going off, everyone's dancing. And then there'll be two guys having a deep conversation in the corner about their holy hour or about life or about something like that. And the amount of times you're up late at night because someone comes into your room and is like, hey dude, can we talk? And you're up till 1 or 2 a.m. talking to this guy about just life in general and their current vocation or their current struggles in their prayer life or just whatever's going on in their life. And then you just get so close to the guys here. The fraternity has been unmatched. I've met, we call them our brothers. And I think sometimes that word, especially in our modern society, is overused or like it's undervalued as a word and like as a description for somebody. It's like to call someone your brother is so much more than just like a friend. I feel like we literally can say that these are our brothers and they will be our brothers for life. And it's such a good, holy, just beautiful thing to see. And I've enjoyed getting to be a part of that with so many different guys for these last 4 years. And super excited to go join a new fraternity up in Milwaukee, or not Milwaukee, Mundelein near Chicago next year. And so excited for that, challenging with that. But that's definitely been one aspect I've absolutely loved. And then I can't admit, prayer life here is spectacular. Like, again, a lot of young college men or young high school men, when they go to college, they're like on that high, or they get out of a retreat and they're like, I'm going to do a holy hour every day and I'm going to pray the liturgy of the hours every day. Why? Because I love Jesus. And it's like, they're on that high and it's so cool to see. But then it's like, and then 2 weeks, it's like, well, I can skip out on that today. I don't need it. To where here, it's like, oh no, we have a holy hour every day, and you better believe you're in that pew, or you're going to be, hearing it from your priest in formation. So it's like, to have that, it's not like, they're cracking the whip on you all the time, but like, just to have that structure to build that prayer life, and to have that format where, no, I don't have to worry about working a job because I can discern here freely. And I don't have to worry about going to school and taking too many credits because I have a set amount that they put out for me. I don't have to worry about X, Y, or Z because I just live here. And that allows you to really focus on Christ. And living with a chapel in your house is one of the coolest experiences. It's a really fun flex when you're in a Catholic setting and they're like, oh, I just loved going to the chapel and yada, yada. And you're like, oh yeah, I live with one. Like I live with Jesus. In Borromeo, the chapel opens up into the hallway. Yeah. And so we have a joke that sometimes the guys would leave the door open or they wouldn't get it shut. And you're like, don't let Jesus out, man. We want to keep him here. And that's just like a reality that we live with in seminary. And it's such a beautiful gift to have Jesus in every house in a physical, tangible way, where if you're having a bad day, good day, you can literally pop in like a friend pops in to say hi to a buddy and say like, hey Lord, man, this sucks. Or like, that was one of the best meetings, or like, thank you for this. Like, and you literally grow as a son of God in that, where it's like, dad's around, he's there, and you can just go talk to him whenever you need. And so the prayer life here, the fraternity, those have been some of the most impactful and just fun, also difficult times at the house. Like, there's a real reality that it's not always sunshine, rainbows, and butterflies.
Very true.
But just the reality of getting to live in that house of prayer, in that house of fraternity, it's such a beautiful gift.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that refers to it as a Catholic frat house.
Oh, yeah.
A seminarian frat house. That is very true. And it is, I don't realize, right? I didn't realize how fun seminary would be. Like going into seminary, I was like, oh, like it's gonna be a bunch of weirdos and everybody's gonna be praying all the time. And yeah, like it is insane the amount of like little parties we'll have. And it's always like just all the guys here. And like they have like, at one point they had like a house rave. It was all good music. But it was just hilarious. So then now we have, at some point the music shifts and then you have 27 guys line dancing in the basement of the house. Yep. And it's just, it's always a lot of fun. And there is, yes, like the days where it's a little more challenging, but it's cool to have the fraternity. And I've come to find out that they're very intentional, the priests, on how they put us together, to where they want us to bump heads a little bit sometimes, and they want us to get on each other's nerves, but they also want us to like coordinate and like set up a house Olympics and like do all these things where like you're growing in a community. And I think that's pretty profound too. The word brother, like how much it is overused and undervalued. And yeah, it is true. Like you develop relationships so tight knitly with men that you do refer to them as brothers. And yeah, as far as the prayer life too, it is incredible the exposure that we have of like, yes, the daily holy hour and the daily mass, and you can wake up at 6:25 and you're in the chapel, barely brushing your teeth. I've done that one too many times, actually probably 10 too many times. But like Jesus is literally present in the Eucharist just down the hall or just down the stairs, or in the other house also just down the stairs. So it's crazy to have all these chapels. We have a parish literally right here that we can go into wherever we want. We have a 24/7 Eucharistic adoration chapel that we can go into whenever we want. And it's just, like you said, geared towards our growth, geared towards our discernments, and they limit all of the exterior distractions. It's crazy how everything is just geared towards us growing and our formation. And like you had mentioned, like some people might think it's crazy, like, oh, they're not allowed to have a job and make money. But it's like everything is provided for us because the goal is discernment. The goal is to be able to like focus on that prayer, spiritual growth, pastoral growth, all those things. But it's something I'm really excited about getting into, going all the way back to senior party. So again, with that tradition of the senior party that we had on Thursday, is the first time to ever wear clerics. And I'll say a little bit from my perspective first, because we have 4 seniors at the house. It's Luke, who you guys haven't seen on the podcast, but it's then Ben, Jack, and Mason. And they one by one slowly started coming out of their rooms in their clerics and their collar. We see them in cassock and collar, never this though. And I lost my mind. My first instinct was like, oh my gosh, I need to come and give them a holy dap up. That's going to be my first mode of action. But it was incredible and also a little surreal. I played cornhole with Mason like right afterwards, and he kept making the joke like, "Oh my gosh, everything that I do in this is my first doing in clerics." Yeah. He was like, "My first airmail in clerics," and then they won the game. He's like, "My first time winning in clerics." But what was the also big first for you guys was your first time your family seeing you in clerics. So first off, I guess, what were your personal emotions in clerics? Like checking yourself in the mirror before you came out and what that felt like, and then seeing your family for the first time and how they reacted.
Yeah. So we tried them on before, and we got all our, we did a clerics runway just so we would like show up and look somewhat presentable. So we didn't look like complete noobs a while back. But yeah, so I put it on and was like, all right, this is the day. And like, we were super excited to do it. It was like one of those things where we didn't do it right away, but it was like, oh dang, this is like super cool. I was really excited, also nervous, like just for guys' reactions. I'm not like one for the spotlight. So it's like having all of the people like, dude, I was just kind of like, oh, okay, hopefully it looks good. Like, all right. And it is surreal. It's like, yeah, I'm not really worthy of wearing this at all. Like it's something that I've been praying with a lot. It's just like, yeah, how unworthy am I to wear this to represent the church in this way now? Yeah, like how that's impacted my prayer lately has been really beautiful to see the Lord working in that. Coming out, seeing all the guys' reactions is hilarious. They're all like, guys will nitpick a little bit, like, "Oh, your shirt's a little faded," or like, and that's like wrinkly. Yeah. And it's like, shoot, okay, so which I appreciate that because like I wanted to look good for my family and for everybody, and so it was really good. It was super cool. It's always funny to see the guys' reactions, and I remember being one of the guys looking at the seniors like, "That's odd. Yeah, that doesn't fit." And then other times, some guys just fit it naturally, and it just comes to them, and you see it, and you're like, all right, yeah, that's them. And so it's like, it was harder for me to wear my clerics around my family and friends than it was to wear it in front of complete strangers. And so I found that to be my experience these last few days. Like I saw my family and I showed up, and I guess the first person of like importance, not that the guys here aren't important, but of like importance was my bishop. And so he saw us in clerics, and like seeing his genuine happiness and his like, he's like, "This is going to like make me cry. Like, this is insane. I can't believe you guys are already here." And just seeing his happiness and joy about like our moving on to the next step. We get to wear clerics. We can join him in that. And he was so happy. He was like, I need a picture. And so we took a picture with our bishop, and like just seeing his joy and happiness. It was, I love that experience of like a real dad moment of like, he was happy for his sons and in this next step of their life. And so after talking with him a little bit, my family showed up. And so obviously we go greet them and then bring them to where they need to go. And my aunts and uncles were like, "Oh, wow." And like, they were all making fun of me and like giving me a hard time. And then my grandparents showed up with my aunt, and they were like really proud of me. And my grandpa's first words were like, "Yeah, have you lost weight?" And I was like, I guess, I don't know. Like,
it's the all black.
I was like, "Black slimming." And then my aunts are like, "It's true. It's so true." And so we were just talking about that. And then my dad and my mom showed up, and to see their reaction was priceless. I really enjoyed, like, my mom was on the verge of tears. Like, she was super happy for me. My dad's not a very emotive guy. And so it's like, you'll never get like the, "Oh my gosh," kind of reaction out of him. He's just like, "Oh, that looks good." And then you're like, so it's like, "I love you too, Dad." And so just to kind of be with them and share that moment. The person that made me laugh the most, I think, was my sister. So she couldn't be here in person because she's out in North Carolina doing a summer camp out there. But so she FaceTimed our family while we were there. And my dad's cell wouldn't work for some reason. I don't know what was going on. So she was like, "Well, just use Ben's." So I called her and picked up and was in my clerics and was like, "Hey." And she's like, And you could tell like she didn't know what to think of it. And she was like, "I don't like that." And so I texted her later. I was like, "So what'd you think?" And she goes, "It's weird. I don't know if I like that yet." And I was like, "You'll get used to it." So like, and even friends and family, like a lot of friends are super supportive and happy, but you know, there's just that like, they're not used to it yet. And so it's just a little awkward to where when you go in front of like complete strangers or people you know, but you don't know well. And when they see you in clerics, it's like a whole new world. Like they want to talk to you. Conversation becomes easy. You have an easy in where it's like, "Oh yeah, and notice." Like,
can you hear my confession?
Yeah. And it's like, you're like, "Oh no, not yet. Yeah, so like going in front of complete strangers and like just out and about, I think that's the funnest part for us. Like we went through the McDonald's drive-through last night. We're like, this is sick. In Clerics. And we're like, this is awesome. And like you pull up to the guy and you're like, hey. And so that's been a lot of fun for me, and just honestly being with the other seniors in that and just getting to share our experience together and hang out with each other, hang out with our families. It's been such a good experience seeing. It's a different, like kind of like what you said about like, it's fitting that we're in cassock and surplice for graduation. Other people are in suit and tie and they're in their regalia and stuff. And it's like, we just show up in our suit and clerics and it's fitting for us. And it's like, we're different. And there's a good part of me when I first started seminary was like, I didn't care for the different, and that was hard. But now it's like embracing that and getting to be like, no, God has set us apart for this. And that's a beautiful thing. And like, now we get to represent that in a more real way. And so I've loved getting to wear clerics. It's still surreal in the morning, waking up and being like, oh, this is my uniform. Like yesterday at Holy Hour, when everyone was in house attire and we were in clerics, I was like, this is kind of weird.
Very weird.
I don't like want guys to think we're pretentious or anything like that. And it's like, I'm just excited. Like, I just want to do this.
What you're supposed to wear.
Yeah. And like, it's still surreal for me to like, I'll be walking by like a window or a mirror or something and I'll see myself and I'm like, oh, who's that? Oh, that's me. Yeah. That's nice. So that's still like, I'm getting more used to it, but still sometimes that'll catch me off guard. And so, definitely the first day I was very self-conscious of how everything looked, but I've loved getting to wear clerics so far. And like, again, tip of the iceberg, there's still a lot more to go, a lot more experiences that I haven't had yet with clerics, but it'll probably happen with a couple weeks where I'm out in more of a public setting with it. And so I'm excited to go back to my parish today. I'm going to go to mass tonight at my parish and get to show up in clerics and see my priest's reaction to me and clerics. So like, there's still a lot of exciting things to do in clerics, and like I'm going out to eat with my family and I'll be in clerics, and like, so just those experiences that I haven't had yet, I'm so, like stoked for, looking forward to, but I've loved it so far. It's been surreal.
That's incredible. Yeah. And I can only imagine just all the, like, I know Mason was joking about it. So all the first, but it's like, that's a real thing. Cause you go from, yes, seminarians are very public and you're public people and we have our house attire a lot of times, but going into clerics, now it's not you're just public for the Diocese of Wichita or public for whoever knows you're a seminarian, but now you're wearing the collar out in public. So you're public for the entire Catholic Church. Yep. So it's a very much different shift. And obviously, like, we've worn collars for our cassock and surplice, but it's only in a mass setting. Yeah. So or serving like for Holy Hour, liturgical setting. But like now this is a switch. Because I just think of like my little brothers, and the first time they saw me in a collar and or cassock, they're just like, this is so weird. Like, why are you wearing that? I could not imagine being at like Walmart walking with my little brother, and they're just like, I don't want to be walking beside you right now. This is so funny. I think that's going to be fun to embarrass my sister when she comes back with it and like really lean into it. Like, you're with a celebrity. Because he takes you with like probably such an unserious perspective, because you guys grew up in the same house. Yeah. But like with my older sister, like, I don't think there's ever going to be a point in my life where she takes me fully seriously. Yep. Like, she's seen me crash out over like a Lego house breaking or something when I was like 5. So there's just no way. Yeah. But I think that's awesome that you're going to be experiencing all this for the first time. What was really funny too for the longest time, because it was you 4 and then it was the 3 priests. Yeah. And at the house, the 3 priests are not allowed to hear our confessions because they're supposed to make judgments on us and stuff like that, and they don't want to blur the lines. But I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, there's 7 people walking around in clerics and none of them can hear my confession. And then the next person to show up was Bishop. Oh, dang. And I was like, there's someone that can hear my confession. And Father Michael's like, no, actually. He's like, wait a second. He's not your bishop. Yeah. Technically, he can hear your confession. Not that I needed to go that bad, but it was really hilarious. No, it's super funny. I guess to wrap up, first off, this has been a joy, but I know you had talked a little bit about like advice that you'd give to kids, in high school and their discerning and stuff. But I guess my big question for you is, with your 4 years of discernments, obviously growing up Catholic your whole life, and I really appreciate that you shared on, kind of the wanting to make your faith your own. I think that's very normal. That happened to me as well. And like just having the lackadaisical approach and then eventually or waking up and lean in. But why for you is discerning the priesthood still what you want to do? Like, and why is being a priest is what God wants you to do? Like, why do you feel that is?
So obviously, like, I've prayed about it a lot.
Yeah.
And the Lord's really rewarded that. And he's just given me a peace about, not at first, it wasn't necessarily the priesthood as the end goal, and it's becoming more of that now as I'm later in seminary. But there's just a piece about seminary and just where I'm at in life and where he wants me to be. And so he's given me a great just peace and consolation. And he's been giving me the signs and the signals and saying to me, like, no, I still want you here. And so that's been such a joy for me to receive that and to hear that and to just walk with him in that. And so that's the biggest reason that I'm still here, obviously. But then, like, smaller things where I can see the priesthood being something I really want to do is our apostolates here are top notch. Father Garrett does a great job with putting those together and giving us real apostolates in settings that we would never expect to maybe serve in, at least in my case. Yeah. Like, I've taught fifth graders. I've helped with inner city youth. And I've been at the local county jail and done prison ministry there. And so, like, I've done a lot of things I never thought I would be doing. And I've ministered to people I never thought I'd touch, and would have to minister to or would want to minister to. Mm-hmm. And so, like, every year I remember, like, I was looking forward to my apostolate, but I was always worried about how to relate and how to connect. And in the midst of that, you could see the Lord working, and you could see you get small little tastes of what it's like to be a priest and what it's like to live that life. From teaching kids, you go to a parish with a school and you walk into the school and everybody wants to see you. Everybody wants to talk to you. Mm-hmm. It was the same, like, being a seminarian is kind of similar. Like, you walk in, all the kids want to talk to you. When you go to lunch with them, all the kids want to sit with you. Yes. You go to recess, everybody wants to play with you. And so it's like, not that that's the reason you do it, but you can see such a joy in children and just in their love for Christ and their love for the Lord, and then getting to walk with them and teach them and be a role model for them, and then just kind of work with them. It was such a gift to me, and I could see the priesthood in that. And so that got me through that year and into the next year. And then the next year was, like, inner city youth. That's a tough cookie. Like, I did not grow up in that setting at all. And so for me, that was really hard. Like, relating to those kids of, okay, well, most of them aren't Catholic. Most of them don't really know what we're doing. They don't know what prayer is. And then for me to be some random seminarian who's like, I'm studying to be a Catholic priest. Half of them don't even know what a priest is. And it's like, okay, well, that's not going to work. And so just being able to relate to them without, scaring them off or being weird in the fence. It's like, oh, he's just a weird Catholic guy. It's like living your faith in a way that can relate to them and lead them to Christ, but then also so you can connect with them. And, like, a big goal of that ministry is just to keep kids off the streets and away from gangs. And, like, so being able to relate to kids who are like, man, but this would be so much more fun to be in that part. And so trying to make it tailor an experience to them, or just to relate to them and to listen to them when they want to talk. It's like just beautiful getting to walk with them in that. And as a priest, you have to minister to all types. Mm-hmm. And so, like, getting to be a part of that was a beautiful gift. And, like, the Lord worked in that and was like, no, see, you can do this. And, like, if that's a hesitation for you, you still can. And then I think, like, the most so far that I've really gotten a taste with has been just this year in visiting different hospitals with different things that have happened in my life and in my family. And then also with prison ministry, like, getting to minister to people in those settings where it's like, they just want to talk and they're so vulnerable because of what just happened in their life, and being the privileged individual to listen and be the face of Christ to them is, like, that's such a role of a priest, is to be Christ to people in a tangible way. And I would, like, again, you can't hear the confessions or anything like that. And, like, there are times where it's like, dang, I really wish I could give you Jesus right now, or I wish I could hear your confession. Like, you desperately desire it. But especially at the prison this year, like, hearing the stories of the inmates and, like, seeing their humanity and how on fire for their faith they are. Like, some of them there are holier than me. Like, seriously, it's insane how much of a faith life they have and how dependent and trusting in Christ they are. And it's like, that's so beautiful. And to be the privileged person to get to walk with them in that. And when they come and ask you, like, hey, I've been praying with this and I felt the Spirit working in this way, and to give your, like, 2 cents worth of spiritual advice. It's like, well, I've been in the spiritual life, like, seriously for 4 years. And, like, to be able to walk with them, and it's like, who am I to give you advice on this? Or it's like, they'll come with you to a major life problem, and it's like, who am I to respond this way? Or if you're at a hospital and they're going through a tremendous crisis, and it's like, where's the Lord in this? And just to be able to walk with them in that, and just to listen and be there with them and be the face of Christ for them, like, that's priesthood in a nutshell. And it's just beautiful. And the Lord has been giving me tasting glimpses of that my entire time here in seminary. And so it's like, those are just small things of the priesthood that's like, oh yeah, this is such a good life. I really love that. And I want to do that. I want to be the face of Christ for people. And again, hearing confessions, saying the mass, like also pretty big, like proponents of like, oh yeah, the priesthood would be great. And not saying it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows and butterflies and every day is going to be like, huzzah.
You'll have the crazies that come in and all that.
Exactly. But it'll be, God willing, I get ordained a priest. It'll be such a wonderful life. And I know the Lord will be calling me to that. And it'll be such a grace and such a gift from him.
I think that's really exciting for like anybody even listening that like there's seminarians, and this is a lot of seminarians too, that are excited to become a priest. They're excited to pursue that vocation. And because in the secular world, it's very easy to think like, oh, well, these are celibate men that have no wife and no kids. They're probably sad all the time. Like that sucks, but it's not the case. And there is a lot of joy and consolation and understanding that the ultimate goal of heaven, you can help a lot of people towards that path and also work towards that path yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's so beautiful. All the stuff that seminary has been allowing you to do, like prison ministry and inner city ministry and stuff like that. And I'm excited to eventually experience that as well. But I do like that though. It truly is a good life and it's a holy life. And it's not, like you said, all perfect all the time. And priests have parishioners and they have councils and they have all this stuff. And they also have like their own life. Like they still have family members and, or like their parents that can eventually pass away and stuff like that. Like they still go through life, but they have a lot of backing of the church and of God as well, which is amazing. Well, this has been such a great episode. I'm so excited. Ben and I actually here in a little bit are about to go to mass. So he'll be in his clerics again here in a few minutes. But it's been really good. And it's been really good getting to know you this year. And just seeing, even just the growth from like obviously being a new senior to now and like kind of owning that and owning your vocation more and more and more. And it's always good to see your excitement around the house. You're always very like extroverted in the sense, but always very positive, which is refreshing to see. There's not a lot of guys that I can say that I always know who I'm going to get when I talk to you. Sometimes I'm like, oh, well, they're this version of themselves today, or they're this version. But every time I talk to Ben, it's always like, oh, he's going to be excited and positive and competitive, which is good. We want this.
But thanks for having me. I've enjoyed it. It's been a blast. Yeah.
Yeah. And excited, ready to go to major?
Oh yeah. Excited. Ready to go.
Good.
It'll be good. I'm going to be sad to not be here and like, it'll be different without having you there around or like not being able to see you as much, but yeah, it'll be good. It's
going to be great.
Yeah.
Well, with that, just know, we're always praying for you guys, Tom and I know Ben is praying for a lot of you as well, but also ask for prayers for us. Again, just in vocation and discernments and prayers for the increased vocations wherever your diocese may be. But with that, this is the Come Holy Spirit podcast, and see you guys in the next one.